Next panel session is one that I want all of us to pay as much attention to as we can, because this will be dealing with a very important point, a thorny issue when it comes to tech and innovation. Well, yes, your guess is as good as mine. The role of government. The role of government in strengthening the creative economy in terms of policies, support, and opportunities. So,
I think Kayode is very excited about this one because the other day I was on his Instagram page and I saw one of his reels titled, "I Have a Dream." He was literally the Nigerian Martin Luther King. I'm not going to put him on the spot and have him recite that reel. But yes, like he said, the next panel discussion that we have is titled, "The Role of the Government in Strengthening the Creative Economy." This is policies, this is support, and this is opportunities.
And this panel is curated by the Beat FM. So you can expect some amazing conversations here today. And I can tell you that we have our panelists right here. So without taking much time, should we get right into it?
Definitely. I'll call in the first panelist. He is the Special Assistant to the President on Creativity. And this is Prince Baba Agba. So let's just give them a round of applause as they come to the front.
Let's put our hands together for Prince Baba Agba, who is a Special Assistant to the President on Creativity. We can do better. This is Omniverse, guys. You know how we do it. Let's give him an Omniverse welcome.
And then we've got the founder of Firma Advisor and African Policy Conversations, and this is Chineye Uwanka. Okay, Chineye, let's just give him a round of applause in his absence because we did mention him.
The next person to call to the panel session is someone we all know very well. He is the Chief Creative Officer, LiveSpot 360. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm Omniverse welcome to Darey Alade. We can do better, guys. This is a legend right here.
I just had a bit of a moment because I'm like, oh, I know you.
Right?
I know you. All right, thank you so much. And then next up, we've got the Group CEO of Reach. This is the co-founder of SaharaJETS and Vitality Leisure. This is Solomon Nnanna. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. Oh, he's on the way. Let's give him a round of applause as he's still looking for the room.
All right, so while we wait for Ikechukwu Nnanna, or Solomon Nnanna, pardon me, the next panelist coming on stage is the co-founder, African Music Summit, the second VP, Artist Managers Association of Nigeria. Once again, let's give an Omniverse welcome to Ikechukwu, Black Pharaoh, Onuorah.
Thank you so much. Again, I would like to mention that this panel discussion is being curated by Beat FM. Thank you.
So we're just going to wait for a moment for Solomon to join us. In the meantime, I can promise you that this will be a fantastic conversation talking about government. And I'm glad we have people who've been in the industry for decades to have this conversation. So as much as possible, let's engage, pay rapt attention. And if you've got questions, please put them down because they are the perfect people to answer some of those questions on your mind. So we'll wait for a few seconds. For Solomon, I imagine someone is getting him for us so we can get started with our final panel session for today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Omniverse.
Again, I'd like to welcome to the front the Group CEO of Reach. He's also the co-founder of SaharaJETS and Vitality Leisure, Mr. Solomon Nnanna.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, good afternoon, Lagos, good afternoon, Nigeria, and good afternoon, the world that's watching. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, distinguished panelists, welcome to this pivotal discussion on the role of the Nigerian government in strengthening the creative economy, policies, support, and opportunities. We are honored to have with us today a panel of experts who are at the forefront of shaping Nigeria's creative landscape. As we delve into these synergies between the government initiatives and creative industries, let us ignite a conversation that inspires, innovates, collaboration, and transformation that harnesses the full potential of this vibrant sector for economic growth and cultural diplomacy. And before we get into this, I'd like to introduce my panel. Of course, we have Prince Baba Agba, Special Assistant to the President. Yeah, my guy, we salute. And then, of course, we have Darey at Alade, who is the Chief Creative Officer of Live Spot 360, a very fantastic initiative that is really transforming what's going on in the creative sector over here. And Solomon Nnanna, Group CEO, Reach, co-founder of SaharaJETS and Vitality Leisure. And I would like to apologize for Chinyere. She can't make it. She's stuck in Abuja at the moment, so we'll have to move on without her. So, as we kick into this, some of the key phrases I'd like us to bear in mind as we go through today's discussion are transforming creativity into prosperity, 2, building bridges between policy and innovation, and finally, empowering partnerships for sustainable growth. So my first question, and I'd like to bring it to you, Prince Baba. As Special Assistant to the President on Creativity, what does this role entail? And can you share any specific policies that are being implemented to infuse Nigerian arts and culture into government operations at both state and federal level?
Yeah, thank you for having me, first of all. Afternoon, everyone. So my role is domiciled at the Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and the Creative Economy. So I work very closely with the minister, and our focus really looking at the entire space.
Sorry, could you bring this slightly
closer, right?
To...
Is this better?
Yes,
yeah,
thank
sorry.
you.
Yeah, so what we've looked at really is holistically the entire space that creativity sort of encompasses, and looked at what are the bottlenecks, what are the constraints, and what are the opportunities and strategic levers that will really allow us maximize the potential that everybody keeps talking about. So one of the first areas we looked at was the policies, regulations, and legislations that govern the space, and looking at it from an enabling environment point of view. So what we've been working on is the intellectual property policy, which we've done the final stakeholder validation, events and all that, and now it's just to transmit to the Federal Executive Council for adoption as a national position. And then you also have the culture and then the creative economy policy, which is currently being worked on in partnership with the NESG, that's the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. So what those do is foundationally, they set the tone of government's direction, and then all the other legislations and regulations fall out from there. So for instance, intellectual property, just to expand on that a little bit, it touches a lot of different places, but I'll say creativity generally and just innovation. So you've got the copyright section, you've got things like trademarks, you've got industrial processes, you've got going into agriculture in terms of seeds and all those types of things, medical processes, all that stuff. So, and a lot of the industrial stuff, right? So patents, name it, it's endless. Now, these are all built on ideas. And, we're in the decade or the century of ideas, at least for now, right? So ideas are currently ruling the world and will continue to rule the world. So this is really the foundational thing for all industries, be it medicine, be it tech, be it the cultural industries, the tourism industries, biomedical, whatever you talk about, it's ideas. So for us, protecting ideas and creating the right frameworks. So you then go into stuff like what's the copyright laws at the Copyright Act, for example, what's your trademark laws and all those things, your patents laws, and being able to guarantee the safety of people for their ideas to protect it. So once the ideas are there, yeah, they're great. But if you cannot, protect how it's captured, you can't monetize. So that's for us the foundation.
Fantastic. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
So, Darey, from your perspective as a creative entrepreneur, what are the most pressing challenges that government policies need to address in our entertainment sector?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me again. I think we all know why we're laughing, because the low-hanging fruit, the one everybody, shouts day and night now, including Baba, is infrastructure.
Yeah.
But if we want to delve into more detail, I think that infrastructure is not just about building new things. There's a lot of things already in the pipeline. There are already a lot of players doing a lot of things, and have been doing a lot of things for many years. So it's about harnessing, all of those positives, those steps that are already being taken, and see what kind of empowerment. That's the low-hanging fruit. What can we do to empower those guys or those institutions that are already existing, that are already doing something towards solving a lot of these challenges? So it's not just to shout the rhetoric of infrastructure, but then that also raises other questions: funding, cost of finance. If we can start getting free money, which doesn't exist, right? Money costs something, and we have to figure out how to go about it. And I'm sure even in your business as well, Jets, in any business, money is very critical. But where does it come from? And how much do you have to pay to access that money? That's a big challenge. So if we can start looking at more opportunities to have single digits, loans, if we can have more grants. But beyond that, even if the money was readily available now, the way we squander it
money management.
Creative corruption is another layer, but we won't go into that one for now. There's a lot, but the cost of funding is a big thing. But there's a plethora of challenges. But those two things, would go a long way if we're able to creatively, address, some of those. Yeah.
Thank you. Solomon, as co-founder of SaharaJETS, how can private aviation services support Nigeria's creative economy by implementing logistics for events, artists, and cultural exports? And secondly, are there opportunities for public-private partnerships in this space?
Hello. Okay. Thank you for that. I think that logistics is a big thing, right? When it comes to with Darey and when you're doing music and touring and things of that sort. Not so much private jets in the way people think about it, but just large scale transportation, right? One of the biggest challenges when artists are looking at touring is it lives and dies in the main city in the country. So it's usually Lagos or Abuja, right? But there's a lot of opportunity in some of the I guess, secondary cities, right? But the challenge is transportation, right? How do you get the people who are interested in, say, the artist to those locations cost effectively, right? And I think that's a big challenge. And I think it's a huge opportunity for government to step in and say, hey, how do we subsidize getting people around in order for us to help grow the creative economy, right? And I think that there's some conversations going, Baba probably is better placed to speak to that, where they're talking about a national airline and all of those things. But I think that things like that, most people don't know, but when you look at airline costs, the taxes is a majority of what you're paying.
That's right.
Right? So it literally means that the government has carte blanche to say, hey, we want to cut those down to allow people move freely, because if people move freely, there's more trade, there's more everything, really. This is the reason why when you look at, countries in Europe, you're going between countries and it looks like you're going between cities because someone has decided that it makes more sense to get the people around than to keep them where they are, right? So in terms of assisting the creative economy, I think the government has all it needs to be able to stand. And this is not even something, because he talked about funding, which is extremely important.
Yes.
But there's some low-hanging fruits of things that you can do today, right? To make it easier for people to come from Ghana or from Ivory Coast for a Rema show, right? But if you're trying to get to Abidjan or you're trying to get to Dakar, it costs you as much as if you were trying to go to London and sometimes New York.
And it defeats the whole objective.
It defeats the purpose. And so to your second point about public-private partnership, I think that if the government shows goodwill in the sense that they are willing to come in and partner.
Yes.
Entrepreneurs are littered, right? They want to do the work. They just need to feel as though they're in an actual partnership. And some of these things will not actually cost, government fund like money. Yes. It will just mean that they say, okay, these taxes can chill for now while we get critical mass, and at the point we do that, then we can reintroduce them.
And I suppose there are loads of examples of countries, whether that's in the West, where they have really figured this out.
Absolutely.
We could look at their models and take certain elements, but then adapt it to our unique circumstances.
Absolutely, and so for me, this conversation, and it's good that we have someone on the platform that has direct contact with the government and can relay these things. I wanted to posit solutions that don't actually cost money, right? Like so, and we'll talk about it later. But my background is in finance, and I lived in New York for 20 years, right? In terms of being able to export creative, the amount of funding you need to do that is much less than people think, right?
Yes.
It's more about visibility, it's more about awareness and those sort of things. But I'm sure your questions will be able to get through.
Thank you. Okay then, so Prince, Baba, I'm coming back to you, right? OBS Seeker is quoted as targeting $25 billion from the creative economy in 2025. In line with OB's office as Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture, the NCAC, what strategies are in place to achieve this ambitious goal, and how does it align with the broader $100 billion target for 2030?
Thanks for that, and a lot of interesting comments. I guess we'll get
I beg,
into it.
bring that mic close. We
Yeah.
won't catch
So
this.
so I'll start from the end. Obviously, the ministry for the sector has 100 billion as contribution to the GDP of the country as the headline target, and there's a job creation target of about 2 million new jobs as well. Now, how do we get there? Is what everybody asks, right? You have to look at the sector and dimension everything. So obviously, creative economy, creative industries is different subsectors, about 12 broad subsectors, but literally 40-something, 49 to 50-something different types of activities. So even if you went into music, you would have live music, you would have recorded music, you would have all kinds of stuff. Performing arts would go into a range of activities, right? So when you go nitty-gritty into each activity, you'd see that there are different value chains. Some of them crisscross, but they are all different economic opportunities. And obviously, you have the main ones that are going to be major growth levers. So you would say maybe audiovisual, for example, film, television, mainly because it mops up a lot of the other sub-activities. So be it fashion, beauty, architecture, set design, all that stuff goes in there. Performing arts. Music as another example, but then music being very broad. You have recorded music, but then that translates to, we're talking about touring, getting around, right? So now you're talking about the bands, the dancers, the stage managers, the logistics companies. It's a full ecosystem. So those ones are interesting because they bring in everybody. things like visual art might not be obvious in terms of how they would scale largely, but they still do, but maybe at a slower burn rate. So you're looking at like the catalytic effect and impact that things would have in a shortest period of time. So we're sort of focusing on that. So the NCAC, being the Council for Arts and Culture, really sits in a very interesting position as a developmental agency for a broad range of these sectors. So you have a lot of them from a developmental point of view sitting under them.
Okay.
So obviously the ministry has different agencies that do different things. So you have cultural organizations like the National Theatre, that's a venue, the National Troupe, that's a performing troupe, you know, Center for Black and African Arts and Culture, Film Commission, broad range things. So for us, is using each of them to activate their various spaces. So the 25 billion for this year, you know, that's ministry-wide, not just OB's side, but then everybody's coming interlocked. So we talk about stuff like the IP, that's one stuff. The creative economy policy, that's another one. The taxation, like you're talking about, and the fiscal incentives, that's another bit. Now, the thing with taxation and the fiscal incentives is it's very broad-ranged in the sense that, okay, we had tourism added to us 23rd of October, which just changes the dimension of everything, and it's sort of been a re-strategizing phase. So how do I put it? I like the fact that tourism has been added now after we had time to really focus on the creative economy and dimension what we wanted to do as a plan. But you see, it brings us into many other industries that I would say we're stakeholders for. And I like that because no one can tell you, oh, why are you saying something, why are you getting involved? So from aviation, as you've rightly expressed, people moving around, traveling around, logistics for people, equipment, and the likes to give access, right? From a tourism point of view, that's heavy. From the creative economy point of view, that's heavy. You go down to immigration, we're now very interested in what you're doing there. You go to customs, we're like, guys, how far, right? Because everybody, education, whatever. So the difference you now get is when I said legislative and regulatory environment, they have headline taxes that are general stuff like corporate income tax, this and that, and then you can bring in stuff like what we're working on, tax credits for certain activities, film, etc. Those are like at the tax law level. Then you have other regulatory bits that end up being a form of taxation. So what you're talking about from an aviation point of view, that they have these sort of levies and tariffs that they're allowed to determine an issue as you go, which now that's not under the Minister of Culture. That's under the Minister of Aviation. Right. So you now have to get a certain level of alignment to say, okay, we have this initiative for growth. We need you to do this. But then you have to find the alignment for how that falls into their own plan. So the first thing you're going to get hit is, oh, revenue goes down because everybody's looking for revenue, right? So how do you plug it? So you start doing the, no, I know. So you start doing the whole thing of, you know what, you're going to lose taxation revenue, but, you know, we get like double the people for Dirty December and then VAT skyrockets, this, that.
So you don't lose taxation revenue, right?
What happens? You lose it in the form.
No, in the very short term, right? Because what happens is if you have more aircrafts coming in, right, the taxes that you lose because you just have little aircrafts, you make right back. So again, I think a lot of times we think in a short-sighted, like a short term, right? Based on, because at the end of the day, most government officials have 4 years or 8 years, and so they're trying to get things done. But the truth of the matter is...
No, you don't lose anything.
Right.
Net,
exactly.
But the issue now is, like I rightly, you know, put in, is you're dealing in not necessarily silos, you're all having conversation, dealing, but it's under different portfolio of responsibilities, and at that portfolio level, it might look like in one segment. So that's where this intra-governmental thing, which is something we've been really able to foster, and the minister has really been doing a great job at, in getting government to talk and everybody to come to a common ground to say, it might look like you're losing this on this page.
How do we get the different departments to talk together?
So we're doing, so it's, I'll go from how do we get that to what are we actually doing, right? Because we're doing it, right? So that's why I said the minister has been really great at this, in being able to get that level of engagement with her colleagues at the, you know, sort of ministerial level, and then getting the agencies under them to really cooperate. So like Interior, getting immigration to really work with us to say, okay, we really need to look at this. What are we doing? This is our imperative, right? So aviation, we started a very interesting conversation with them as well. And a lot of what you're talking about are things that we're looking at, because there's always this analogy Obi and I talk about. The Masai Mara in Kenya is smaller than Yankari Game Reserve. Okay. But the Masai Mara has over 10 airstrips. And Yankari has none. Obudu. All right. You know, I saw the video today, the governor went to inspect the airport. So, like, you have these amazing things, but access, how do you get there? And the question is, what are the things that are not allowing people to put in what you need to get there. So like you said, it might not be like a government needs to spend money, but how do we do strategic partnerships, which is one of our key 8 pillars, to say, we've got private sector people, we've got developmental people that are interested or have expertise, and if we're able to arrange the collaboration in this way, they can come in to do that. So that's what we've been doing. So you're going to see the tax credit stuff go through, which is a big thing.
So if I may say, let's say, for example, now as we're now in February. We know every December it's a mad rush. Dirty December is now a global international brand.
Yeah.
You hear white people, Chinese people talking about coming to Nigeria, going to Lagos for Dirty December.
Yeah.
So if we look at that as a brand, what is the government and the creative economy doing right now to plan towards Dirty December 2025, where we can at least have a 5-10% improvement on business relationships and how we're building and developing this brand so that we can properly monetize it and build going forward?
No, that's a great.
Is that a Darey? That's a Darey. Okay, Darey, come straight.
It's a great. I like that question, right? Because it's something we've been thinking deeply about. So the first thing is Dirty December 2024. What happened? But Dirty December 2024. You have to dimension everything and really dissect it. So a lot of people came in. Where did they come from? Why did they come? What were the things that made them being here successful? What were the bottlenecks and constraints they had, and then how can we improve it? And then who are the partners? Yeah. So the feedback you get from everyone, first off, is no accommodation, no hotels, right? Which was great for everybody because it's like everybody was sold out. Yeah. So that's one. The next thing is you hear about all the issues around payments, around transactions and whatnot. So now this is let me call it a user issue because you've got people that are willing to spend but are having friction. You have the communications one, let's say in terms of getting phone lines, etc. Let's say the Uber one worked out quite well for them. I know the car hire guys did really good business. Then, people like Darey probably made more money than they've ever made during Christmas. oh, no. So anyway, that's why he's here. He'll tell us. This year
last year was
so but basically what we'll be looking at is, okay, how do we fix this bottleneck? So, okay, with the immigration side of things, we've been engaging with them to say, how can we streamline that process? And I know you'll see some of the improvements they've been making, like now the contactless entry with the automated gates that have come in, and I know that's taken a while. They've been working on that. You'd have heard that.
But then on the flip side, immigration tells you that they want to stop visa on arrival.
No.
So which is it? We can't be.
I was going to go to that and I'll clarify. And I was going to say you would have seen the headline by the minister, right? And the Minister of Interior, and I'll say it was a bit quoted out of context. So if you read it, what he said is that visa on arrival was being scrapped and they were instituting e-visas, right? And they were streamlining that process to make it easier. So, but if I go into the technicality of it, what was labeled visa on arrival is actually e-visas. So we've never really implemented visa on arrival, which was that people just landed without a visa. So everybody, as you know, bringing in people, you had a pre-authorized visa. So they're cleaning that up.
I quickly want to get Darey in as well because time as well.
Yeah.
Just trying to manage time.
Oh, still on this a bit. But I mean, for me, let's keep it simple, right? If people are able to come into Nigeria via Lagos or wherever, for December, and we're making it very easy. If it can be visa-free, everything is going to jump up. Every revenue across board. What we saw in December 2024 will be child's play. Yeah. Just by some very simple thing. Maybe it's not as simple as it sounds. Yeah. Baba will probably, explain better on that front. But if we did something like that, would see immediate, growth. Then you're talking about that intentionality. We're in February now. December is coming. It's around the corner.
It's around the corner.
What are we doing to build towards December? Whether it's by aviation, immigration, customs, there's many challenges. If we want to bring gear in December, it costs an arm and a leg. Yeah. Where are the tax breaks? Where are for the creative sector? Where are the things that we can get some alleviation? Because right now is not die with day. Do you understand? Because a lot of things we're doing on our own by ourselves, and there's literally barely any support. So if we want to build towards this Dirty December, make it phenomenal, we need that collective intentionality. You see, intergovernmental, everybody's speaking, we have to speak the same language. We have to say, okay, by this time this year, we want to get somewhere. And then you can now start talking about the framework. How are we going to implement and how are we going to come together and all of that. But we have to make it a lot simpler, a lot easier. For the creative sector, training, workshops, a lot of developmental work still needs to be done.
Yes.
So that those people that are coming in, your waiters, your bartenders, your taxi drivers,
hospitality side of
everything
things
improves. We have to intentionally upscale.
Upscale.
Yeah.
Across board. It's not, 2024, I feel, was partly a mistake, flash in the pan, but it also, you can also...
It shows the opportunity.
Yeah, it shows the opportunity.
And
you can also...
if we don't do the right things.
Exactly. But we mustn't also shy away from the fact that a lot of work over the years has been put in, whether intentionally or not. But a lot of people have done, you know, incredible work to get us to experience what we did in December. But now, what do we do in 2025?
Thank you. Solomon, I see you've got a few points.
So I think we're running out of time, but just two quick things. I think that people like Baba, they see it, but I think the rest of the government has to see culture as an exportable product, right? Creative as an exportable product. I think we're already seeing it with music and film, with food, right? But then the creative economy as an outsourceable product is something that I don't think they've looked at, or maybe they have.
Trust me, after last Christmas,
cool.
Everybody
I think
now.
Yeah, so because again, we have people, right, that need some upskilling, right? But we have the people, right? And so looking at the international economy or global economy as what we can tap into, leveraging our people while they're still here, right? Darey and them do an amazing job with The Real Housewives and some other shows that they do. Their people should be on tour in America and the UK, getting them to watch, which they're kind of already doing that, but they need to do more, right? So I think culture as an exportable product and the creative economy as an outsourceable product is something that I think government needs to pay attention to.
And I think the last points that both Darey and yourself have mentioned have answered this, what was going to be my next question, which was what specific steps should be prioritized over the next year to 5 years to position Nigeria as a global hub for creative excellence?
Yeah. Time.
Very quickly.
But I'll tell you what we're working on.
In a few sentences.
Yeah. Broadly, we have a cultural promotion side of things, the developmental side in terms of what we're doing here, and then the marketplace development, which is more the economic side. So for the cultural promotion, the minister launched Nigeria Everywhere, which has been adopted by the Federal Executive Council as the official soft power and tourism brand for the country. So under that, you've got Destination Nigeria, you've got Screen Nigeria, which is the audiovisual part. So the whole point is culture inbound and then destination promotion. Okay. So a lot of things happen, but like a lot of people probably don't know that SaharaJETS is, Nigerian. A lot of people don't realize Burna Boy is Nigerian. So how do we get the positive tag that comes with the quality of the product we put out to get the interest and the eyeballs, and then we can now, reverse engineer those to come back into the country from tourism, lifestyle, hospitality. Now, on the developmental part, like I said, all the policies, all that stuff, a Creative Economy Development Fund has been approved. That was actually the meeting I was having this morning on structuring that Creative and Tourism Infrastructure Company, which is meant to partner with the private sector to drive that infrastructure that we need, and then all these sort of training, capacity building projects like the Creative Leap Accelerator Program. So that's more developmental. So there's also a National Endowment for the Arts.
Thank you.
Boom. And then economic side, like I said, partnering with the sector, strategic partnerships to really unlock certain things. So whether it's investments in infrastructure, in content, in platforms, and promotion. Because at the end of the day, it has to be industry-led. So yeah.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up. They have been signaling us, so just very quickly. So in terms of wrapping up, as we conclude this enlightening discussion, there's so many things we still could have spoken about. It's clear that the path forward requires a collaborative approach, and so we will propose the following action plans if currently not in place. 1, establish a joint task force comprising government officials and industry leaders to review and refine existing policies. 2, develop a comprehensive digital strategy to support the global promotion of Nigerian creative content. 3, create a transparent funding mechanism that ensures equitable access to resources for creatives at all levels. And lastly, launch a national campaign to raise awareness, which you mentioned, of government initiatives supporting the creative economies. Ladies and gentlemen, as we draw this impactful discussion to a close, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to our esteemed panelists for their invaluable insights, to the Omniverse Africa for enabling us to be a part of this historic moment, and to our curation partners, Beat FM 99.9 FM Lagos, alongside us, the African Music Summit, for their unwavering support in bringing this panel to life. The Nigerian creative economy is making waves on a global stage. Our music, film, and cultural exports are celebrated worldwide, yet a significant proportion of the revenue is generated outside of our borders. Many of the lucrative deals with our top 5% recording artists are negotiated in international territories by foreign companies, leaving local offices here in Nigeria unable to fully oversee or benefit from the development of our most valuable assets. This contrasts starkly with how regions like Latin America, Asia, and the Middle East and Europe have structured their creative economies to retain control and maximize local benefits. For this narrative to change, we must act with intention and purpose. We need a deliberate reconstruction of our creative economy systems with a singular focus, putting the growth of Nigeria's creative economy first. So, in closing, I would like to thank you all. Our mission is not easy, nor should it be. But if we are serious about becoming masters of our own destiny, we must embark on it with the determination that a self-preserving nation has, which is demonstrated on the global stage. Once again, my name is Ikechukwu, Black Pharaoh Onuorah, and it's been an honor moderating this session. Let's leave here today committed to innovation, collaborating, and elevating Nigeria's creative economy. It is time for us to stand up and be counted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is time for us to stand up and be counted. And I'll ask for you to please stand up.